Hello everyone, David Abel here in the UK. This is a video specifically to let you know how I'm getting on since I had a stroke on the 23rd of September this year. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I wasn't even aware what was going on because I thought I was asleep. This is the scenario that Sally has explained to me. I had my head over to one side like this. My mouth was right down. Apparently the left side of my face had dropped and I was dribbling. And that is not usual for me, really isn't. And she woke me, asked me if I was okay. My speech was slurred. And then she went into a series of action steps just to see whether this was a stroke. And it's the word I've used before on the videos, fast. Face. Is there a change in the face? There most certainly was. My left side had dropped down. She then asked me to raise my arms in the air, which I did. Both hands up in the air. And she said, no, you've got to put your left one up as well. And I said, I have. And my brain was telling me that my left arm was in the air. And it wasn't, it was down at my side. And when I realised that and looked down, that was quite a shock to me because I was convinced that my left arm was in the air. And then speech, S for speech. So I'm looking at the word fast, face, left-hand side, arms, couldn't raise the left arm, speech, very slurred, but I knew what I was saying. The questions she was asking me, I was answering, but it's the way I was answering, just a very slurred speech. And time, that's the final letter in fast, time. Time is of the essence. The quicker that we get action, if you believe that somebody's having a stroke, the more of that person's life and brain, I guess, is going to be saved. So this was dealt with exceptionally quickly. As far as I was concerned, Sally got straight on to the emergency services. We had paramedics here, certainly within 15-20 minutes. My younger son, Steve, and his wife, Roberta, they came over, arrived virtually at the same time as the paramedics. They could see what was going on. Something else happened that bit embarrassing to share, but just want you to know, because if anybody is fearful about having a stroke, I'm not going to be saying don't be afraid, but be responsible and acknowledge what's going on if you can. I lost control of my bladder, totally wet myself, okay? And that to me was the most humiliating part of it, but there we are. Ambulance people were fantastic, took me off, blue light and sirens. Boy, did I feel special. Straight to hospital, into accident and emergency. From the stroke unit, doctors and nurses from the stroke unit came to A&E and they gave me a lot of neurological tests and they said, you've definitely had something. We reckon it's a TIA rather than a stroke. Now, that's not true because it wasn't, which you'll see in a moment, because I was recovering very, very quickly. I'm one of the fortunate ones, folk. I was recovering very quickly. My speech was becoming more normal. The left-hand side of my face wasn't as droopy as it had been. When the paramedics arrived at my home, apparently my left side of the mouth was really down low. And all they kept doing regularly was saying, can you smile? Can you smile? And that was telling the story of the droop on my mouth, I guess, more than anything. So I'm here at I was at the accident and emergency in Northampton Hospital. My blood pressure really was elevated, 187 over 87. And that doesn't come as a big surprise. My bloods, normal blood count, normal kidney function. So that was good news. And I was told that all of my symptoms were in keeping with a stroke, but because I was recovering so quickly and so well, they reckoned it was a TIA, but it wasn't. The next big thing was the carotid artery duplex scan. Both sides of the neck, we've got these main big blood carrying vessels, arteries, and the result was immediate, normal. So I didn't have a blood clot, and that's what one of the doctors said they thought was going to be found from this test, that I would have had a blood clot that temporarily took the supply of blood from the brain, and this is what was creating my issues, But no, they are normal. No clots, no thickening within the arteries, normal result. That then followed by an MRI brain scan, and the result, confirmed in writing by the way, it confirmed evidence of a stroke involving the right thalamus and part of my brain stem. And the consultant put in a letter, "This fully explains your symptoms of left-sided weakness and sleepiness." Okay, so I have got a very lovely letter from the consultant at Northampton General Hospital, okay, and this doctor, let me just tell you who she is, because she's now one of my important people in my life. Dr. Melanie Blake, consultant stroke physician of the Stroke Centre at Northampton Hospital. She has written me this, 3-page letter and another page about COVID-19, which doesn't really apply to me. It's about warnings, But this 3-page letter, she's gone through my medical history with a tooth comb. It's amazing to read it. She's put an action plan together, which all of it now has been completed by the hospital and by my local doctor. And in the UK, we call our local doctors GPs, general practitioners. So she sent a copy of this 3-page letter to my doctor, and he's taken his action points from her recommendations. So where are we? This now is what she has written that she wants to see achieved ASAP. We must address all risk factors for stroke disease. So she's writing this to me, don't forget, with a copy of it to my doctor. And 4 areas: blood pressure, target to be less than 130/70. Cholesterol to be less than 4. In hospital, 4.8, which is actually quite low. That's quite a good reading. But she wants it to be under 4. Optimal diabetic control has to be achieved. And I agree wholeheartedly with all of this. And the 4th thing, a 24-hour heart monitor is going to be arranged so they can see what's going on through an entire 24-hour period. My GP said what they're looking for is atrial fibrillation. If I haven't pronounced it correctly, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? So please don't make comments and say this is how you pronounce it. I really don't want to know. All I want to do is make sure that I am doing everything that the hospital, that the consultant and my doctor are telling me to do. So they're going to arrange for this 24-hour heart monitor. Now, it's been 23 days. Gosh, that's gone fast for me. 23 days since I had the stroke, which is confirmed as a stroke. What's happened to me and my body? A number of things. My blood pressure has significantly reduced from the average of 170s, which were my readings at home. Remember, it was elevated in the hospital to almost 190, 187. So this morning, when I got out of bed, I've just taken my reading 139/68. Okay, so that has really come down, and the consultant wants to see it under 130. But these are now typical of the readings that I am getting. My blood glucose level, so the sugars in my blood, so this is now my diabetic control. I have been getting readings since Japan of between 10 and 13. Now, those are UK readings. It's different to the rest of the world. We have a different metering system. 10 to 13, which is high. Now it's 6.3 to 8 on average, depending on the time of day that I take it. So I am really pleased with the way that the blood sugars are coming down, and I'm no longer on 300 milligram of aspirin. I'm now, for 2 days, I've been on clopidogrel. And again, I've probably pronounced that wrong. Clopidogrel, 75 milligram. And that is a blood thinner. Something like warfarin, but I don't think quite as fierce as warfarin. So what about my lifestyle? This is really what has changed. And I am not in a position to offer advice to anybody, but the first thing I would say is, if you are feeling unwell and you think it could be a stroke, phone your emergency services and tell them what you're experiencing. Talk it through. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't try and be brave. Talk it out with somebody who is qualified, okay? And my lifestyle, I recognize I need to change my lifestyle, not just a little bit, dramatically, okay? So, those of you who've been following Sally and me since Japan, you know I love food. And the food that I love isn't the best food to go into my body. And if I really believe that my body is my temple, I should really be looking after it and taking care of it. And at 74 years of age, it's a bit late in the blooming day to make a comment like that. But this could add months, hopefully years, onto my life. So here's the change of what goes into my mouth and down to the stomach, okay? Breakfast. Now, my favourite breakfast since I was a child is Kellogg's cornflakes. I love cornflakes. Haven't had cornflakes in 2 weeks. Well, it's 3 weeks now, isn't it? Haven't had them. Now they're replaced with porridge. And porridge oats, very slow release into the system, so it doesn't have the same impact. The cornflakes, very high carb, hitting the system, the bloodstream rapidly. The porridge oats, it's a much slower release, and it doesn't make you feel quite as hungry, or the words that I use during the day, I'm feeling peckish and I want to snack. Well, that's not happening. I really am not snacking. Lunch, every day. This sounds so boring, but I promise you it's not. Lunchtime, we have a big bowl of soup. And it's a homemade soup that Sally makes in the soup maker that we've had for many years. And it's the same, exactly the same soup, or near as damn it, the same soup every day. And the one thing in life that I don't enjoy are vegetables. I've never, ever really enjoyed veg. Peas and carrots are about the closest that I enjoy, but put broccoli in front of me, oh grief, no thank you. And cabbage and so on. Well, last night, big plate of spinach as my vegetable. And this is so different to my normal life, trust me. I would never go to a restaurant and order spinach on the side. It just isn't me, can't see the point in it. But now I'm doing it for a very, very different reason, and I'm enjoying it. But the soup, it's all homemade and it's vegetable. And it's the sort of veg that I would never choose to have on a meal plate. You know, the broccoli is in there, oh yes. And those big orange things, what do they call them? Can't remember what the hell Sally called it, squash? But I don't like them. But in there, gives the soup a really good orange colour, and then she spices it up for me. And that's what I like. Bit of curry powder maybe, you know, paprika, anything just to give it a bit of a kick. And that's what I like. And I love black pepper, so there'll be black pepper going in there as well. And that is our lunch. okay, and that really is more of a snack. We don't have our main meal midday, we have it in the evening. So with the bowl of soup, I might have a salad or a sandwich to accompany it, and that'll be it. Then in the evening, our evening meal, wait for this, could be a pork chop, it could be fish, but whatever it is, it's going to be healthy food, and it has been healthy food all the way through, with vegetables, okay, but not overstacked with the veg, but they are there, they're on the plate, and I am eating them all, and that is the truth. So I have to really enjoy what I'm doing in life, you know, especially when it's work time, and of course I'm not working. We've had a training course on for 5 days this past week, and I've got trainers who are doing the role for me, and I've really missed it. So I've been watching, I've been observing and adding a little bit here and there, but I've had to lay off with my normal work life, and I do miss that. But I am so blessed to have brilliant trainers that are doing a job as well as I've ever done it, and in fact the reality is they're doing it better than me. They're bloody good. They're really, really good. There's one thing in my life, I never wanted to believe that I'm indispensable. Well, I am indispensable, and I've got a really great team business-wise that are there helping, supporting, backing me up every step of the way. So I have to enjoy what I'm doing in life. So if there's a job that I didn't enjoy, I'd stop doing it and find something else that would interest me. And this is the same with food. I actually enjoy cooking, but because Sally is far better at it than me, you know, she gets on with it and she does it. But when we were in America some years ago and Sally was quite unwell and she was hospitalized, and we'd got her sister and husband over with us on a vacation at that time, somebody had to do the cooking, and it was me. And I really, really enjoyed it. For 2 or 3 weeks, it was me that was preparing all the main meals of the day in our home out in Florida. And I really enjoyed it. So I've recommenced this. And I'm now about to prepare our snack, a lunch for Sally and myself. And what it's going to involve are red peppers, onions, potato, bacon and egg. There'll be a lot of spices thrown in there as well. And I promise you, I am preparing it. And before we went to bed last night, and it was quite late, before we went to bed last night, I prepared all the veg and covered them and so on, so that it wouldn't take too much time this morning, prep time, to get that part of the meal done. So there you go. I will hopefully remember to put the video on so you can see what, I'll tell you what, would you like to actually watch me make it? Would you? It's an extra $50. I'm happy to take the video out to the kitchen and show you what I'm doing, if that's what you would genuinely be interested in. So if you're not interested, you can switch off now, because I'm now going to move over to the kitchen. Okay? Thanks for joining me. I hope what I'm about to do doesn't put you off your food for the rest of the day. Okay, bye for now. So this has now reached temperature. So I'm pulling the drawer out and I'm just literally putting the bacon in the bottom here, but I'm going to separate it up as best I can so that it doesn't all clump together, and I'd like to get it as evenly spaced out in there as possible. Not brilliant, but I will part of the way through stop it again and just see what transpires. So I'm now going to set the time on here for 45 minutes, and I just need to think what I'm doing. I want the temperature to be 180 degrees. 180 degrees, and I'm going to cook for 45 minutes. Okay, so that's now on for 45 minutes. But I'm going to stop that when it gets to 40. So the bacon is going to cook now for 5 minutes, but the whole process, the cooking process, is going to be a total of 45 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, I'm going to add the onion, the peppers, all prepared last night. There we go. So there's my little bits of pepper. They're going to go in. And the onion. Chopped it all up quite small. And then, that onion smells strong. Oh my word. And the potato. So I'm going to leave the potato still draining for the moment. And I've never done this before, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get the potato in there without the cloth that I'm trying to dry, the kitchen roll, I'm trying to dry the potatoes. So you can see I'm not an experienced professional cook at all. But the important thing is I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And the end result is that I'm going to be able to hopefully eat and take pleasure from what I've just done. And all of it, right, the plates are now at temperature, and I'm only about 40 minutes behind the plates. It doesn't matter. I can smell the bacon. So what I'm going to do is open the drawer and just give this a little stir around and let it carry on cooking. This is one of the great things with this, that when you open it like that, it pauses everything and then it'll carry on from where it stopped. So in 2 minutes time, I'm going to pause it and add all of the other ingredients. That's good fun, isn't it? Don't you think? And all of this is very healthy cooking. I haven't put any oil, so there's nothing in there. It's coming from the bacon itself. That's giving it some juices in there. So it's a healthy way for me to eat compared to what I've been eating the whole of my life. So see, seeing is believing, and if I just told you that I prepare food and I cook it, you wouldn't have believed me, would you? You wouldn't. But now I hope you realise this is me. It's not Sally with my clothes on. This is me, and I'm really, really taking a great deal of pleasure and delight in what I'm doing. Okay. So, in the most expert of way, in go the peppers, in go the onions. Now what I'm going to do is mix them up, and this is what we professional calls combining the ingredients. Okay, so that is nicely mixed up in there. And the final thing is, and this is the bit I am maybe just a little bit reluctant about, putting the potatoes in. So look, there's my potatoes that I've been draining and I've been patting them and all the rest of it. So let's just hope that this works. In they go. Now, I don't want to do this too severely because I don't want bits of paper in there. That's the last thing I want, is to get paper in there, but I'll try and get as much of the potato in as I can. I'm sure all of you who are really accomplished in the kitchen are going to be able to tell me a much better way to do this, and that will be the sort of comment I welcome, not on, well, it's still unhealthy, David, and you shouldn't be eating that. That's not what I want to hear. So I'm going to combine the potato with everything else I put in there, give it a really good shake up, and we're going to cook this for 35 minutes because it's already had 5 or something like that. But I think at this stage what I'd like to do is add, why the heck isn't this working? Do you like a bit of pepper? I most certainly do love it. Absolutely love pepper. Tiny bit of sea salt, not too much, because not that we add salt at meal times, we don't. But I'm just going to put a tiny bit of salt in there. And then a tiny amount, well, I won't use it soon, I'm just going to put a little bit of this in, which is paprika. Okay? And again, I am now combining without adding any oil, but it really does look good that the potatoes are now getting covered in the juice that's come from the bacon, and what this should result in half an hour or so is a lovely brown mixture. That's what I'm hoping, that it will completely brown it. I did wash my hands before I started, okay? I'm going to wash them again in a moment. But the important thing now is that goes back in, and I want this to cook. This is now on for 40 minutes, so when it gets to 5 minutes I'm going to stop it and we'll do something else. Okay, so that's it. We are good to go. Everything I needed to do for this stage. It's now 35 minutes of cooking before I do the next part of the process, and then we're going to be eating it so quickly. So I'm going to pause the video for now and come back to you when this gets down to the 35 mark. Okay, that's what it looks like so far. So for the next part of the process, I'm cracking 2 eggs. I'm going to put them in individually. One over there. Okay, so just 2 eggs on top of that, and we'll see what happens. So it's taken about 25 minutes. I've had that on. Looks very crisp. The potato and certainly the bacon might have done it for a little bit too long. Next time, a bit shorter. I'm going to leave the eggs for 3 minutes, see what that looks like. I like the eggs to be a little bit runny. I don't want them to be like a hard-boiled egg in there. No, just wait and see. I hope you're enjoying it. Now what I'm going to do That's only been a minute, might even be a bit less. What I'm going to do is just put some pepper onto those eggs. I did tell you I like pepper, didn't I? Oh, this smells very good. And just a tiny, tiny bit of salt. Okay, in we go. So this isn't a cooking lesson, it's just showing you how I'm really attempting to improve my lifestyle by cooking fresh food, food that I enjoy. I'm going to enjoy it even more because I'm preparing it and I'm cooking it myself, and hopefully Sally will enjoy it. And this is just a midday snack. Our main meal is tonight. Okay, I am pretty confident that those eggs are virtually done. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to turn that off and attempt to serve this up. Should be interesting. I've broken the egg, so that's my one. Yeah, it's definitely my one. Broken the egg, what a shame. After all of the care and the love that I've put into that, I break the darned egg. Let me use a wider spatula. I really don't want Sally's to break up. That came out okay. And this really is probably too crispy, but I'll let you see in a moment. Okay, so there we are. Does that look anything like a brunch to you? Bit of a mess, isn't it? But the important thing is I've enjoyed doing it, and I'll let you know what the taste of it is like in a moment. Okay, finished eating. I ate it all. Sally's eaten hers. The flavours were terrific, but it wasn't the best. It really wasn't. What Sally's comment is, and I'm going to agree with her, I cut the potato too small. So the potato was crispy. I mean, it browned and crisped superbly, but I should have not taken a potato that small. And yeah, certainly going to do that again, but going to modify it. I'm going to let Sally take charge of preparing the potato, and I'll watch her, and that's it. See what happens. But yeah, the flavours still in my mouth. Absolutely gorgeous flavours, especially that pepper really coming through. So, hope you found that interesting. Yeah, let me know your comments. Let's see what you think. Okay, all the best. Bye for now.